Camera 2. Rolling camera 3. All right, well, good. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a name that will be a name. We don't have a name yet. This is your first episode, and I'm your gracious host, Garrick Jurgens. I'm here with the characters you know and love, and would love to discuss some of the things that have been going on in your games. So this is just coming off of the tail of this next session, so I would like to just go around the table. Avery, how you feeling? Quick, 2 words. How you feeling? Go.
Pretty good.
All right. And Jared.
Good. Sorry, didn't get it low though.
All right. And Nick is not your name. Nathaniel is your name. Nathaniel, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. A little horny. I mean, hungry.
Gerald, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm all right.
All right, good. And Tom?
Good. Tired.
All right, perfect. For those of you who don't know, Tom has to be up very soon, and so does Nathaniel, but guess what? We don't care. Anyways.
I already slept, so I am up for the day.
Correct. He was, in fact, almost 1.5 hours late to our session today. Let the record.
That's not when I slept. That's not why.
Never mind. And point being, I was just trying to take jabs. You know how it is. We all in good fun here on this show that is yet to be named Comedic Jest.
Also, it wasn't the latest, so it's not my fault we didn't
Fair.
start.
Those of you who don't know, Avery plays the character of Sweetie. Jared, of course, plays the character of Hogar. Nathaniel, Nikolai, Gronk, Gerald, and, of course, Roku and Tom. And with that, tonight was a very interesting evening. While it was mostly combat, a couple of things went down, especially right at the end there. And I have a couple of questions to ask in order of probably least relevant to most relevant. Mostly, for one, we take our first question directed to our least opinionated person in this whole group, Hogar. You are famously or infamously known for your relative silence during most occasions. So if you don't mind, we could field a couple of questions to you about how things are in your campaign right now. Are you willing to accept?
Yes.
All right, perfect. First of all, Hogar, your party has seen, I hesitate to call it infighting, but there's definitely hostility between members. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In total, who do you often ally yourself with?
Hogar trusts Gronk and Nick completely, and somewhat trusts Sweetie and Roku.
All right, that's good. Would you
Due
say
to different reasons.
Would you trust Roku over Sweetie or Sweetie over Roku?
The reason I don't trust them completely are different, so they're around the same.
Perfect. You mean exactly nothing to him. You're both equally bad. Anyways,
I'll take it.
Hogar, there has been something that is itching not only myself, but the whole world that watches this show. We're curious. Where does your cheese really come from?
A magical, I don't know. There's cheese in my bag. There's a minor enchantment on my bag. Someone put there when I bought it. That's infinite cheese.
All right. Thank you for clearing up. And also, just in general, you're the only character who I'm very curious as to. You seem like you have a lot more to do. It seems as every character has sort of cemented themselves in a sort of a course of action to take or sort of lifestyle to live. And I just want to know, what are Hogar's ultimate plans? What's down the road for this character?
Become this world's Volo, if Volo design is in this world.
So create a catalog and collection of monsters?
Yes. And
How's
I'll
that going
list
so far?
it's all right. I have a little notebook full of stuff.
All right. Good to know. I'm appreciative to give us a little insight on the politics of your play, things like that. I would also like to take this time to open the table to any other people who have any questions for Hogar, open discussions, anything to see how his character feels. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Precisely what I thought was going to happen. Hogar is not too complicated, gets right to the point, and that's what we love about him.
I got something, actually. Our encounter with your guys' mother figure, Mima, made it quite clear that Gronk's religious focus is a bit of a family thing. And I want to know where Hogar lies in that, what his opinions on gods, but specifically
Yeah.
celestial.
Yeah.
Question.
How,
Good
how
question.
you how,
I've
how
been
you dig
wondering
into
too.
the whole, like, are you like a sort of like how I like practice
Yeah.
Christianity, where you're like, I'm down for it, but I'm not super involved.
He's down for it, not super involved, but does thank Celestian after he successfully doesn't kill everyone when piloting the ship at night.
So he,
Just traveling at night in general.
so no other gods per se besides Celestian, but even Celestian is just a sort of more casual relationship.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That was a wonderful set of questions from our man Hogar himself, and I appreciate Nikolai. That was a good. I forgot your actual name. You've been playing for a little while. Good set of questions to ask that I forgot about, and also, but one final one before we go. I hate to be the one to bring down the mood, but how does Hogar and his father? What does he think about that situation?
Probably doesn't really like his father that much.
I
Just
don't
like
think anybody does. It was kind of a
any kids whose father abandoned them when they were a child would feel.
Yes, and when he finally showed up back in your life years later, he barely even
Ignored me.
Yeah. A hurtful situation for anybody, but I think Hogar, due to his ability to shrug off everything like water off a duck's back, you handled it swimmingly. Thank you so much for answering the questions, Jared. We appreciate everyone. Could please give me a light golf clap into the microphone to show how much we appreciate Jared and his. All right, next up, we have our contestant, Nathaniel Caldwell, who plays Nikolai. Nick, you have made it very, very clear, and even if you have not, it is right to be assumed that you are not necessarily a fan of the hand and eye usage. Am I correct to assume that? Okay.
Oh yeah.
But two events that have happened tonight involving the hand and eye. One of which Roku turned someone into a zombie. Second of which he used his X-ray vision at your discretion to try to help you navigate through the fog. Now, I was just wondering, personally, is it black and white with you, where the hand and eye lie, whereas usage of it is bad and not using it is good, or is it moments like when you need to use Roku's X-ray, when it's convenient for you guys, do you consider, you give him sort of a pass about it?
The way it's sort of been lately, because when we started out, literally Nikolai's first interaction upon being rescued was to attempt to withhold the hand and eye from the rest of the group. So when they started out, he was 100% anti-hand and eye. At this point, it's less that it's like a moral gray area. It still feels fairly black and white. However, Nikolai's just sort of come to accept that no matter what he says to Roku, he's become addicted to this power. So he's not going to change anybody's mind. And so with that, he's accepted that it's going to get used. So that's sort of where he is for that.
Which brings me to my next question. Do you truly believe that Roku has been sort of consumed by this power and addicted to it, as what you said?
100%. 100%. He's using it way more. When he got the hand and eye, he seems to be kind of conservative with it, only really breaking it out when the situation was desperate. However, as time goes on, he's used it more and more often now. Sometimes almost casually. And so that was already sort of reaffirming Nikolai's belief that this is affecting Roku. And then with the possession thingy, I know like it was just suggestion. It wasn't like literal possession. But as far as Nikolai is concerned, the way Roku described it was, Vecna entered my mind. So that is, from Nikolai's perspective, that is possession. So with this recent possession, Vecna into Roku's body, he is, yes, 100%. This thing is corrupting him, both spiritually and on a more literal level, with Vecna entering his mind.
Do you think that the only way to end this addiction and or save your party the stress of this item, do you think that the only way to do so is to remove it? Or would you
No.
be open to a cleansing of sorts?
With the prospect of going to the positive plane of energy and having that ability cleansing him of the evil while retaining its power, that is actually Nikolai's preferred route. That is, as soon as Sid is done and over with, that is, if Nikolai gets a say in what happens next, that is his plan, is to venture to the positive plane of energy and get Roku cleansed. Because he wants his friend back. And if he gets to keep the power of the hand, which Nikolai also knows that a lot of Roku's more recent questionable actions are not, it's not just the hand. He's mentioned that he himself is doing things in the name of Cord and just with the general air of because he wants to be powerful. And so if Roku wishes to have the hand, if we can get rid of the corruption and keep the hand and eye, if I say hand, I mean hand and eye, then Nikolai is all for that.
All right. And would you say that it seems you trust Roku's character more, and it's the hand and eye that you seem to have the issues with, and then when they creep into the mainframe. So would you choose who you trust more, as him or Sweetie, someone who voluntarily takes the power of Vecna but is not directly involved? Which one would you say that you trust more in a situation with your life on the line?
Well, in a situation with my life on the line, Roku, because he's more effective at saving my ass.
Right, that makes sense.
As a person who I trust more, if you had asked me an hour ago, I probably still would have said Roku. But within the past hour of my life, Sweetie has partially renounced Vecna, and Roku was possessed. So it's probably leaning towards Sweetie right now. That said, I'm wary of Roku and what he's becoming, but I guess I don't like trust him in a huge sense, but I still want to trust him. I trust the man I know he can be, and in Nikolai's opinion, should be. He's shown that he's a man of good moral fiber. He potentially sacrificed his own being to save Ferris. And that spoke to Nikolai very heavily. Part of that is probably biased because Nathaniel was touched by it because Nathaniel played Ferris. But also, like, Nikolai values, especially after what happened towards the beginning of the campaign, he values the life of friends, and he knows that he would give almost anything to get his old friends back, specifically Idris, because him and Idris were fairly close. But Nikolai, having dealt with the loss of a good friend, understands that sort of thing and empathizes with the want to get them back. And he respects Roku for giving up so much. However, with, again, recent events, Roku seems to be growing more and more attached to the hand. He questions, did he take the hand and eye to save Ferris, or did he do it for the power?
All right, and with that, I have one more final question. This is not meant to go in depth here. This is really just a yes or no from you. For some fucked up circumstances, Nikolai gets the hand and eye. Okay? Yeah. Not saying what doesn't make sense thematically at all, but let's say he does. Would he possibly use its power to attempt to bring back all of those friends that were lost that day of the slave trade?
No. If the hand and eye, if Nikolai gets the hand and eye, he's killing himself. Like, if it's forced upon him, he's killing himself.
Okay. You just mentioned doing things for the friends that you lost, but I suppose you understand the power that something like that holds as opposed to...
Pre-slavery, yes, he probably would have brought them back, but with months of torture at the hand of the eye, because that's most of why he hates these items so much, is because of what that experience did to him. He realizes just how evil this thing is, and with the exception of possibly Cloud, because Cloud was kind of shady, he doesn't think that his friends would want to be brought back through such means.
Right, and with
But
that,
also, Cloud denied
he
servitude for his own life. So maybe
in those final moments he showed some sort of character as to not be as shady. I will now open the floor. Does anyone wish to question or challenge anything that he has possibly said?
In Roku's defense, all right, everything that he does, he knows the risk of using these items. He does not do it lightly. All right, he goes through a great deal of pain and torment just to use the items. So he only uses it when the situation calls for it, with the exception of casting sleep on Sweetie, which I thought was necessary because I wanted him to shut up.
Arguably was a necessary precaution in that moment. We all understand.
Okay, because if I
honestly,
yeah, okay.
that sleep probably saved Sweetie's life.
Who's the one that
I
asked,
have used the hand to take one life. I've used the eye to take one life as well. All right. They aren't corrupting me.
yeah.
I think what you mean to say is if you do have this sort of struggle for using them, it is more internal. So, you know the struggle, but maybe Nikolai just sees it as you
It
will
is.
to use it.
For Roku, it is like constant pain and torment to have to just teleporting or or using the hand at all. If he takes damage, it hurts, but he's using it for the betterment of his group.
Because you guys
don't
were
wanna-
arguably in trouble back there. With the two of them up, they were they knocked down two.
We were in
members.
serious trouble, so I deemed it necessary for it to do, and Roku thought that was the best way to go about it.
You took away about, I want to say, more than half of his total hit points with that spell. So that definitely changed the game if the round continued on the way it did.
The question I probably should have asked when everyone's done questioning me is, I want to know everyone's thoughts on Hogar.
Just in general,
Yeah.
dude kicks so much ass. So much.
Like in character thoughts or out of character thoughts, or both.
Yes. Well-
Nathaniel and Nikolai both think Hogar kicks so much ass.
Well, Gronk, obviously, Hogar and Gronk are brothers in that weird sort of twisted way, even though we don't look like twins, but we are. Deep affection, and then, of course, Jacob Ludeking or Gerald the player digs Hogar because pew, 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 he kicks a lot of butt.
I'd say Nikolai also, he's grown rather fond of Gronk. They've had some good, long, in-depth discussions, sharing their thoughts together. And so because of that, like him and Nikolai and Hogar have not grown personally close, at least not as of yet. But I think that connection to Hogar, or that connection to Gronk, and then transitive property, Nikolai cares for, and Nikolai cares for everybody in the group. There's just a sense of camaraderie. Also, he owes all of you his life. So there's that as well.
This is a question for Nathaniel the player, and then I'll let Avery take the floor. But let's pretend some weird circumstance happens. Would you play Ferris again if given the opportunity to?
No.
Never again. That character's on the shelf, done forever.
In this universe, yes. If I really feel like it in some other campaign sometime, I might dust him off because I like playing him a lot. And I'm not saying no because I don't like playing him. I think out of respect for the character, the only way Ferris is going to be happy is if he never has to kill anything again. He wants to settle down. He's been through a lot. He literally died. And the only way for him to be content is to live happily as a lumberjack in chilling with Ataka.
Okay, I would like to go back. When I gave those final, I believe Avery was also going to say something.
I was, but then I deemed it unnecessary to ask.
Okay.
3 people still haven't answered my question on thoughts about Hogar.
I mean,
Sweetie, I still feel like this isn't really towards Hogar, but kind of as a group as a whole. Sweetie, I feel like is still kind of the outcast of the group, being like, I feel like the brothers and Nikolai have grown really close, and then Roku and Nikolai and Gronk have grown decently close. So Sweetie's just been kind of the outcast. Like, yeah, these are my friend group, but just kind of just like I'm just kind of also here sometimes. So I don't know how being like I don't know how Sweetie and Hogar are really too close, but they're like still friends. Like I'd still like risk my life for you because you'd do the same for me, probably.
Yeah. But if
But
I had
I
to
would
choose
like I don't
between you and
know.
my brother, I feel you
You
could have
choose your brother, obviously. But like I wouldn't say they're like the closest of close. And then Avery to Hogar, I'll be honest, there's been definitely in the past, not really this session, it felt a lot more normal, but in the past, I'd say as a character, Hogar has just felt really fucking overpowered. I feel like I know Jared like is running numbers all the time. He's like he probably chose this character because he knows he can always hit super high. But
I wanted
it
to be a
just
range
feels
character. My one weakness right now is I don't have a magic weapon, so anything that resists magic screws me over. Partially.
but it just feels like in the past, like I remember in the Panopticon fight, there was like multiple times where it was just like you were just hitting shot after shot with like super high numbers and it, like
20-some damage, 20-some damage, 20-some damage.
exactly, and you're like out damaging Roku. And there's, to be honest, there's been some times where Avery has thought Jared's been like, "Have you fudged rolls?" Because it seems like you're
No.
rolling high consistently
I
so often.
roll
That it's
lots
just
of dice is the thing. Like each attack has 2 to 3 dice.
gotcha.
Like after I get my hunter's watch and play a spray up, my first attack is a D8 and 2d6, second attack D8 and D6. And I have plus 10 to hit. Well, if I use sniper, plus 5 to hit and plus 10 to damage, which plus the 5 already from my dex is plus 15. So it just
Gotcha.
stacks up quickly.
Because Avery has
good
just been
luck, too.
confused.
I also have good luck.
Yeah. Avery's just been very confused and almost concerned to the fact that like how high it just feels like you've been rolling. So I guess those are my thoughts.
Tom, you're up.
Roku digs strength, man. He likes the heavy hitters. That's his type of people. He's all about the strength.
Awesome.
Yeah, it seems you
Eric,
are.
what do you think about Hogar?
I have the same thing Avery said. I've thought to myself, how the actual fuck am I almost dead? It's the second round of combat. So I've had to really adapt as a DM.
I've had like Doug luck, like classic Doug luck.
You
And,
really have.
When
Yeah.
I roll high consistently.
So yeah, that's about all I got. I don't know much about your character's journey, so I don't know when to like tailor stuff specifically towards you. I still try to, but I don't know when I can give you the spotlight over others. I try to even it out with most people, but
As a note on that, and I don't know how like specifically to this campaign we want to keep this discussion, but I have that exact what he just mentioned. I have that same thing with Cthulhu. Like I don't know when and what to implement stuff specific to him. Because like I have your backstory and stuff, obviously, but like there's not a whole lot of. It's not that I don't know what your motivations are, and this could also be applied to Roku, because like your motivations seem to that like they're fairly clear. Like you want to help your friends, but like there's not a whole lot of specific personal stuff going on, at least to which I am aware.
I think part of that is the silent, like just Jared I mean, I get it. Your face has been hurting, and you have to be quiet at your house and whatnot. So I think
Yeah.
the silent and not necessarily. I don't want to say the lack of role playing, but Hogar himself is just a quiet person. Like you created the character that way, and so he's very private. And I guess I can kind of see how, from the dungeon master's perspective,
Yeah,
that could be a little
I
hard.
agree. It's sort of, yeah. I try to give you the spotlight sometimes when it comes to RP, but you are definitely in the spotlight when it comes to combat. So I hope you're happy with that, as opposed to
Yep, dangling from the ceiling, shooting fools.
And tonight, you mentioned the giant monster. I think that, like, from what I can tell, Hogar's kind of interested in cataloging monsters, and so that sort of thing, I think.
Holgar would have scanned it, but it was too far away.
But I don't know.
yeah.
It was probably one of the 60 feet
I
away.
made that specifically towards you because I said I'm gonna have this random, plot hook on a line over here in this part of the world, and I want them to see it. So who the fuck is going to be able to see this? And I'm going to say, if anybody's going to roll crazy high consistently on a perception check, it'll be Hogar. So I waited until you piloted the ship, and I gave it to you, and you only rolled like a 16. But honestly, with that, it was good enough. But yeah,
If we weren't on a time crunch, I might have Hogar would have considered like trying to go after and see it.
If it is something Hogar is interested in, when we're done with Sid, speak up. Say, hey, there is this cool fucking monster. I think we should go check it out.
Yes, hunt it, skin it, and use its wet skin.
Oh boy.
Okay, so we were. I believe we had a bit of a, I think everyone got out what they wanted to say past Nick questions, correct? Everyone's got their 2 cents on the issue.
I mean,
Avery didn't say anything.
Basically what I was going to ask was just like, this could go for multiple people. Like I kind of want to hear Nathaniel and Jared. Like I kind of want to hear everyone's like thoughts on this. But why are you so against like Sweetie with the hand or eye?
I'm against anybody with the hand or eye.
Same.
Sweetie specifically because of his actions before Roku got the hand and eye were reckless, self-centered, and literally self-harming to an extent that I think a modern doctor would describe as insanity. You were going nuts. And as bad as Nikolai and Nathaniel believe the hand and eye are for Roku, it'd probably be even worse for you. Because you have that, I don't want to say power hungry because that makes it sound more malicious than it is, because you do just want to prove your worth in this God War, and that's understandable, relatable even. But I think that, the term absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I think Sweetie is especially prone to that because of how much you crave the power that it might.
And I think if I can take this, I think that
go ahead.
Your character, how you've set him up, has been the underdog, bullied. He got made fun of for being ugly. He was a mutt of a kid. And so anytime he can really prove his worth, that becomes his only prerogative. It stems every one of you guys in this has sort of like a relation to family. I think that's like an overarching theme consistently throughout this is family, whether it be the
intentionally
brothers,
or otherwise.
it was unintentional at first, but then when I realized that I really played into it, all you guys have a connection to family, and your family is like basically like it's you're a half breed. And due to that, everyone thought you were ugly. Everyone hated you, all that stuff. And so when you finally get the ability to prove yourself, it like triggers.
He really goes
these
for it.
Real life motivations. Like when in reality, when you're like, I need to get the eye to prove my worth in this God War. Part of it is also like, see, Dad, I really am amounting to something. And it's like,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
it
exactly.
relates to that sort of thing. And I think, yeah, I think that's cool. I think it's on brand for your character. I don't think you should. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have the hand and eye, but I'm saying that
For my character to want it
Nathaniel's
is good.
defense as to why he doesn't like it really fits with how well you've portrayed your character.
Mhm.
You're hurt easily, but you're also like a fucking goofball weirdo. It's a thing
Exactly.
very common with like ugly people. Like they're like ha ha ha. Like they use it as a defense mechanism. They use humor and stuff. So
Mhm.
anyways, that was my 2 cents on the issue.
He's a
don't
sarcastic,
remember.
ugly guy.
I don't remember
We
if
all
I've
relate.
expressed this before, but the only reason Hogar helped Roku get the eye from Gronk was because he saw how Taka felt about reviving Ferris, and he knew he would have done the same thing if Gronk died.
Aw.
Again, family. So with
He
that,
didn't trust the
I
hand
would like
at all.
I would like to thank you guys for giving us the longest line of questioning yet. But we will now move on to everyone's favorite man who says, "Right, show, Gronk." Right now, on my mind, the one question that is specifically running through it is, what now? What's the plan now? The Death Twins are gone, and they were a part of the Sid plan. What is the amendment to this plan now?
All right. So obviously for those of you who need to be caught up, Sweetie is going to disguise himself as Wesley, except more finely dressed up. But
Yeah.
you good?
Mhm.
Okay, he's good. Alistair Stone, owner of Rock and Stone Mining Company, whatever. There's a little bit more background there. But they were going to be his enforcers. And so now I'm thinking he might not have any. We'll have to go through it without them. And that is a very uncomfortable thought for Gronk because, one, that leaves Sweetie very, very vulnerable. No offense to Sweetie, but when it comes to combat, especially melee, he's going to go down if he gets hit. That happened literally just a couple hours ago in
Today.
the session. Like
Yeah.
literally today. Like
And
Oh, it's
as
also
down
well
very, very
as
low on.
in
Well,
the demon
technically,
fight,
it was yesterday.
as soon as when he got involved in melee combat, he got knocked down. Well, to be fair, he got shot. But then, secondly, when you guys were possessed in the demon's mind, he as well, the demon herself came up to him, and he went down and literally around. So
he went down twice then, and I brought him back
Have a
both times.
possible it's deception based, and if a fight does happen, it's not helpful in the slightest, but it could help prevent a fight. Sweetie could still be escorted by illusions.
Yes.
You could
Also-
have like two dudes watching your back that don't exist.
What if?
Um,
What if also because this just happened with the falling out with, or not falling out, but the threat of falling out with Vecna. Say Sweetie does lose a couple of his illusion powers and also his disguised self. What then?
if you don't mind, we'll get to that later. Right now, Gronk, would you like to continue your?
Yeah,
Say
so
no.
as far as the conjuring more images, I mean that's doable, but that also opens us more up for risk for
if it's found out that they're illusions, then people are going to be like, "What's going on? Something's fishy. Let's
because
investigate further."
that brings 3 illusions into question, and that's
I thought there was, or what else is there?
Let's
there's Sweetie himself plus
let's not
those 2.
address the hypotheticals here. Let's go with what Gronk's plan is now that the twins are gone.
Okay,
There's
so
always time for debate.
Sweetie comes in, Rock and Stone Mining Company owner. Everything is basically the same except without the Death Twins. So Sweetie's gonna need to charisma even more because originally the Death Twins were gonna create a distraction so Sweetie could swipe the earpiece in the armor and weapon shop. But Sweetie's gonna have to ask for something in the back or something.
Mhm.
Like
Could
obviously,
use,
Sweetie.
I don't know
I'm
how
hoping-
specifically. We could use it to try to like pull his attention away somewhere else.
We have done that before, and I did think about having it be Sweetie's enforcer. But the problem with that is if Sid has scryed us and seen it, that'd be a dead giveaway.
All right. So now that this sort of plan without these two others becomes more reliant on Sweetie, this is sort of a two-part question here. One, do you trust Sweetie to lie his ass off?
It's the one thing Hogarth trusts you to do.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Like,
that's
if we
kind of
can
the
rely on
one.
Sweetie to be anything, it's dishonest.
Yes, and that's not even necessarily an attack at like Sweetie, but it's kind of an attack at Sweetie.
It's you.
Well, he's also just like a damn good liar. Like, despite even disregarding the fact that he does lie constantly, he's also just good at it.
So Gronk is aware and fully accepting of his ability to bullshit. And number two, do you just trust Sweetie regularly? He has made a new sort of announcement, and again, we'll get to this later, so I don't want to divulge on it now, but that he renounces or is starting to question his beliefs a bit. And it has also shown that you guys have had, I don't want to say a relationship in the past, but Sweetie, in his own admittance, has felt like an outsider, and someone who has accepted him the most has been Gronk, due to him changing his bandages and talking to him a lot. And after, in the room where you confess all your secrets, after Roku threatened to kill him, Gronk had him helped him through a crisis of faith, similar to how Gronk had one, where he just was considering if anything mattered and what his place was. And you seem to have this real connection with Sweetie, so I was wondering how you felt about that. How you felt
Yeah,
about that.
so I would agree. It's probably a bit complicated because Sweetie himself can be an ass, but I suppose Gronk has sort of grown into the playing the mediator in the debate sort of scale. Whenever there's like an outbreak of like almost violence between party members.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did
No.
Gronk get all freezy?
He said, "Brr," etc. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Gerald. That was quite the insight. Yeah.
Oh, really? I did not know that point. Thank you
Oh,
for
that's a
bringing
good
that up.
So if we could just move on, at least temporarily.
Anyways, everyone, thank you for answering the questions. And also, I don't remember if we clapped for Nathaniel, so thank you, Nathaniel, as well. I'm sorry, I'm new to this whole hosting thing. You know how it is. Next up,
I don't think the clapping is necessary.
we have everyone's favorite wielder of the hand and eye, because there is only one of them. Roku. I have a couple of questions right now.
All right, what it do?
Roku, what's going on right now? How are you? You constantly seem a bit like reclusive, I think is the word I was going for. And especially now that Vecna has shown his suggestive power onto you, you've sort of you tend to not respond well when Nikolai questions you or your morals. So how do you feel right now, just in general, about things?
Tom is frustrated because things happen with Roku, like, and that's not how I want him to be portrayed. That's not who he is, and that's not who he's trying to be. But like this whole Vecna thing happened, and I don't have any control over that. Roku was just trying to do the best thing for his friends, his allies. So he's a little upset when a party member questions his motives.
And of course, we won't name the name of the party member to so no one gets hurt feelings. Okay, but
It was me. I called him on it. It was a good time.
So you're saying that Roku is being sort of I can't think of the word. He's coming off a different way than what you're meaning to portray him as, and how Roku is even meaning to act. People are seeing him differently.
I understand. Like Roku's probably not the best guy to look at. He's got horns, and he looks all demonic and evil, right? But he's just trying to be the strongest person he can be, to protect the ones he cares about. He doesn't care about what he looks like. He just cares about what he can do and the good he can do with the powers he has.
And who would you say are the people that you care about? Or is that
Okay, I like my party members, right? Gronk's probably the one I'm closest with. We're Forge buddies. And then I like Hogar and Nikolai and even Sweetie sometimes.
And Sweetie's not being a little shit.
But yeah, we're comrades in combat, and we do things together. It's great. We all have a good time.
On a fairly related note to Garrett's question, I don't know if he has more, but I feel like it's topical now. I just want to clear this up because I worry about this thing constantly. Does Tom the player hold anything against Nathaniel the player for the way Nikolai views Roku?
I wish that you would be more accepting and not want to take away this cool item that I have and be more open to helping Roku achieve control.
That is Nikolai's current plan. I don't know if I made that clear in game. I know I literally just said that not too long ago.
I know, but in the past, it was like you had that little talk with Gronk about cutting it off.
That was before the positive plane of energy was brought up. So
also, I would like to in Tom's defense, as someone who really gets into this game, as we all do, remember that time in Talon's campaign when Nathaniel and Pippin Patalopsicopoulos III were getting to be buds, and then he went and switched characters on him, and then Garrick was like spacey the rest of the day? Point is that sometimes I think that in-game emotions
lead into real life.
Right. And so as long as we are of utmost assurance of where that ends, I'm glad I hope
there is a period of time while I was playing Ferris where thinking of Avery made me angry. So I understand.
And
that.
vice versa. It was a testament to both of you guys. And that happens a lot, especially with us. All of us are, again, we just got Tom, and Tom talks about how it keeps him up at night, like D&D keeps him up at night. Yeah. I, of course, DMing this game for you guys is the only thing I think about. Shit like that. Where there are a lot of times where, maybe someone says something to someone else in character or does something, and it translates to actual real-life frustrations. And so that is something I completely understand, and I hope that everyone takes into account when role-playing is, of course, great, and I used to think the most important part of Dungeons & Dragons was telling a story, but I really think is just making sure that everyone has fun, and if you actively hate another person you play with, it's really fucking hard to have fun. Trust me, I've done it before. Nathaniel knows we played a Tomb of Annihilation game, and fucking one guy quoted the DMG at me while we were playing, and I was like,
it ruined the mood for everyone.
It really did.
It was, I want to make sure, because I really like Tom. Tom and Nathaniel are buds, so I wanted to make sure we're still tight. I understand if frustration again bleeds from game into not game. I just want to make sure that, and if it does upset you, Tom the player, I will metagame a little bit and dial Nick back, even if I don't think that's what he would do. If it adds more fun to the game, then that is what I would do.
I'm usually good with keeping game stuff, and out of game stuff. So.
But with Roku showing up and almost immediately, his first arc in the game was Skotua. He showed up, got the hand and eye. That was Roku's character, right? Mm-hmm. And so when judged, I'm assuming it's a large part of him it's basically like when you insult the hand and eye, you also insult Roku as a character, because that was a big thing for him, a big character arc moving forward, and it was one of the first things he fucking did of importance in this game. So it's really easy to take it to his identity, that when you judge the hand and eye, that this thing has been a part of him, So I get it. I get the reluctance to do it with Nick's character. Totally makes sense for his character. But I also get the opposition. And then also, not even story-wise, just wanting to use a cool magic item. and not wanting to be judged for it. I can totally understand that as well. And speaking of course, the hand and I would like to transition back to our questions. How do you feel about Sweetie and his relationship with Vecna? Specifically, this sort of break that he said they're going to go through?
Look, as
Tempted
a
friend zone.
player, I fucking love it. I fucking love what he's doing with the whole Vecna thing and like the opposition to. I love it all. I love it all. Him thinking about trying to take the hand and I love it. It's great. And then now he's like trying to friend zone Vecna. It's fucking great. But Roku has problems trusting Sweetie. Like our whole entire relationship, like from start, has been rocky. Like the whole time, it's been problems. He said he renounced Vecna, so he's wary. Like he wants to see if he's gonna follow through with that and see if that's actually gonna be a thing.
Okay. And finally, how do you think Cord feels about all of this? The hand and I, the current adventure you're going on. You guys haven't spoken in a bit, but do you think that when you do these feats of strength, do you think that this is like the way you're going? Are you actively attempting to, sort of appease him? Like, is that your ultimate goal?
I can confidently say that Roku's ultimate goal is to not appease his father. He's more so trying to prove to himself that he can overcome, adapt, and become stronger throughout these engagements. And Daddy's really a good tool for that.
So it's like Roku is proving to Roku that he is as powerful as a son of Cord should be, but he's not trying to prove that to Cord.
Demigod is like it's a pretty big like boot to fucking fill, So he's trying to prove that he belongs. Like he owns that. He wants to be that.
And
Glad that was cleared up, because I totally just thought he was trying to show Daddy how cool he was.
And that's why I think you've had such immediate hateful feelings towards others who have claimed to be demigods, hint, hint, Joshua, and how because you see him trying to prove himself more than you, and you're like, that's not going to happen in my town, and then you murder him.
Inferior pig. Roku's all about strength, man. He's always about proving himself. He's stronger, and if someone beats him and they're stronger, hell yeah, man. He's up for the battle. He'll die to someone stronger than him.
So it's a sense of like honor and shit. So if you're about honor and whatnot, if you don't want to answer, that's okay, because this could possibly be like a spoilery bit for the campaign. But let's say hypothetically it came down to it. The ultimatum. Your dad says you either have your friends or you have me. You can't have both.
I guess that's a decision that will be decided when the time comes.
Fantastic.
Good answer.
Fantastic answer.
Doesn't give too much. Still a quality answer.
I now open the floor to everyone if they have any questions for Roku and the crazy things he's been a part of.
Roku. And again, I don't want to come across as this is what Nikolai wants, because it's not his numerical goal. As far as Roku and the hand are concerned, he wants to get you to the positive plane of energy. But if for whatever reason that's not possible, is you getting rid of the hand totally off the table?
Roku has goals. All right. He has things he wants to accomplish. And when he retires, it's something he would consider.
Okay. But before those goals are accomplished, he's going to use these as most.
He's going to use these as useful items.
Okay.
So with this whole, I know Garrett kind of just brought this up, but with the whole Sweetie almost renouncing Vecna, what is this really, how do you think this is going to affect the Sweetie Roku relationship?
If he does follow through, you mean?
Like if Sweetie were to follow through with cutting off Vecna.
Okay, I think that would be an excellent start to get Roku and Sweetie on the same even ground. If you don't follow through, it's the same old shit, telling more lies.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Or even if it's just like taking the break.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else? Because I think we really covered a lot, actually.
No, I'm
Like
good.
Hogarth's quietness, I have nothing to say here.
All right. Everyone, golf clap slightly on your microphone. Thank you so much, Tom, for your input. I really appreciated you today. It was lovely. Finally, last but not least, we have Sweetie. Now, I will start out this this line of questioning with a compliment, which I have done for no other players up till now, and I'm very sorry if that gets on anybody's nerves. But, Sweetie, while you have admittedly felt like the outcast of this entire campaign, you have also been the catalyst for just about every fun situation I've ever seen in this. Every single party incident of like anger between everyone, it's been with you. Every time it's been fun between parties, it's with you. You have every moment where I'm like, ooh, if this was a TV show, that'd be good writing, is because you pissed someone off or got yourself into something weird, which I appreciate.
Thank you.
So first off, I mean, look, it's obvious. All right, it's on everyone's mind. It's all of us, the viewers at home. They all want to know. What's going through Sweetie's mind right now? Is he going to take the obvious drain of power that Vecna will give if he renounces him, but will ultimately and admittedly, like this is no question, get on higher moral standing with his friends? Or would he rather keep himself mechanically in line with the rest of his friends, but sort of give out on that breakup that he's having?
Like I said earlier, Sweetie's been kind of the outcast. Whenever he wants to be better, he's always tried taking that option. With this whole Vecna thing, it's been a boost for him. It's been like, okay, now I feel a little bit more powerful. Like I feel like I'm doing something, but also it is getting on everyone's nerves, whether they like to say it or not. Dealing with an evil god does bother you to some extent. So, Sweetie is really considering dropping off with Vecna due to
When
the
you
fact
say
that
it bothers us, do you mean our characters or us as players?
characters.
Okay.
Like what Tom was saying, the
Yeah.
good and evil contrast. I know it's a cool concept, but at the same time, like it does damage a lot of the players' perspectives of Sweetie. So Sweetie is
again. You mean the players?
I mean like other characters. Sorry,
Okay.
I messed up wording.
It's a very important distinction because
Yeah.
Nathaniel has loved the Vecna decisions and he thinks they're great. They're adding like thick 4Cs thick plot stuff. It's really good.
What I really love is, and I know probably Avery and Sweetie both hate this, is that you didn't end up with the hand and eye, which would make sense for a Vecna follower. Instead, the guy who actively renounces Vecna got the hand and eye, which is a fun
gotta piss you off.
concept to be in. It's
Yeah.
a very fun predicament for the story. I really enjoyed that.
It really is.
Reese, that whole thing that happened earlier with you and your god has got me a character idea for a cleric who starts off worshiping an evil god because he was born into that, but then realizing that that's not what he wants and renounces it.
Mm-hmm. But then going back to Sweetie, I do really think he's going to renounce Vecna for the power decrease. But then also, with doing that, I think it would be a big turn for Sweetie because he'd be proving himself to not everyone, but he'd be proving himself that he's better than this for his friends, for his party. So I feel like it would improve relationships by a lot.
Yeah, Now here is, and I don't want, anybody else's input on this. I'm just thinking, Sweetie, only think about yourself. When you're being told about this whole invasion thing, Kord's trying to invade the plane, Ioun's trying to, he's told you all about these, Avandra, right?
Mhm.
Do you believe Vecna when he says that he's not trying to invade the plane and that he's really the good guy in this situation?
I believe Vecna doesn't want other gods to get the upper hand in his invasion. I believe that when the time is right, he is going to try and make a move. I don't know what that move is. That might not be invading the material plane, but I feel like he is going to put a lot of influence in something to give himself the upper hand when other gods come and eventually get destroyed by us, hopefully.
So basically, you think that he's not doing the good thing because it's good, but
He wants to
doing
do
the
a good thing
because it
for his own
probably
upper
will
hand.
help him. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I was just curious as to how you felt because ever since you talked to him for the first time, he's been a big denier of the fact that he wants to invade the plane and things like that. But I was always curious on how you felt.
Sort of like does the president want to win the election to make America better, or because he wants to be president? Like there's
Exactly.
All right, and then of course you may feel like the outcast, but there have been moments with Gronk that you have sort of bonded, as I mentioned, with him, and I just wanted to get your side of the
Mhm.
situation. Like, how do you feel about him, and possibly
Sw-
pursuing something with him?
Sweetie really appreciates Gronk. He's I don't know. He probably is or he's probably bonded with Gronk the most because like Gronk has kind of been like not really. Sweetie hasn't really cried on anyone's shoulder, but if there was a character that Sweetie would cry into their shoulder, I think it would be Gronk because Gronk he's kind of built himself up as like not a
mom.
father figure, but like the mom of the group or something like that.
He is a
Where it's
mom.
just
That's a really good point.
he's like the one that cares about everyone and tries to make everyone happy. Like you said, the mediator. So I think that Sweetie really appreciates Gronk. I don't know if Gronk really appreciates Sweetie as much as as you think, because like Sweetie's kind of like the little shit of the group. But like Sweetie does really appreciate Gronk. There's also been a few moments where Sweetie has just kind of messed around with like Nikolai, where like randomly I'll just like climb on his shoulders and like look around or something of the sorts. But I definitely say like Gronk is probably the closest tied to Sweetie.
I remember Sweetie and Holger had a moment in the mall on our first trip to Trust where they bonded over being abominations.
Yeah, they're like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
And-
something Sweetie's really rooted into his character, I think,
Mhm.
about his,
Like, and just so Sweetie knows, Holger won't seek you out, but he will talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
well,
was
yeah.
I was peeing when it was going
Mhm.
on, so I couldn't input, but I was still listening. And there have been I was going to say this earlier when we were talking about Gronk, because you discussed Gronk's relationship with Sweetie specifically, but in general, Sweetie and Nick's relationship quite obviously kind of shaky. There's the whole Vecna thing. Nick is not about that. However, there have been there have been a few moments with Sweetie and Nick where I was like, in an alternate timeline, these two would be tight as hell. If a few things went a little differently. Like when there was some point where it was just the two of us walking through Skotua, and we were like just joking around and talking. And like you said earlier, there'll be some times where Sweetie just climbs on top of Nick, and Nick's like, "All right, this is happening."
Yeah, like there's a few fun
There's
moments.
a lot of potential there, but there are just a few
Exactly.
things in the way from them being like tight.
Exactly.
Sweetie is he's really fun, despite the fact that he is, as you said, the little shit.
Yeah.
His he's definitely like the most fun character in the group. When he's goofing around, despite the fact that Sweetie provides both some of the heaviest plot related stuff and the big moral decisions and also the dumb shit. They both come
Exactly.
from this little ball of morbid, abominable joy.
Yeah, that's also something I
Also,
just
it is one of my favorite things in the campaign. I love
and
it so much.
that's
Yeah,
also a big
right.
dilemma. Going back to the whole renouncing Vecna thing, that is a
Mhm.
huge dilemma because like I don't like Sweetie is practically fallen in love with his new pet it, so he doesn't
Mhm.
want to lose it. But like, if it means getting rid of Vecna, he might have to, which is really sad to think of because like he still wants to keep it around, like and be friends with it and stuff like that. But it's
I have
going to be weird to see with this what happens in the future.
I have a Sweetie question. And it's not that I'm questioning why you did it. I just have multiple hypothetical reasons, and I want to sort of know where you are with this. Why is he now suddenly deciding that maybe hanging out with Vecna is not such a great thing?
It was a lot of had to do with this last fight, seeing other Vecna followers and how like shady they are, because
Yeah.
I know Vecna was like, hey, that was their decision, but it was also their decision to follow Vecna. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking more of the people who follow Vecna are the shadier people, and Sweetie doesn't really want to become that. Sweetie's like, yeah, I know, Sweetie's like the criminal doing drug dealing or drugs and stuff like that. But Sweetie still
That's a
doesn't
different
want to
kind
be
of
like
shady, though. There's like,
To be
Exactly.
fair, he's never been secret about selling drugs. It's
Right.
whenever he
Exactly.
gets secret, it's because of Vecna. So like that's where
Right.
really the shady stuff is drawn.
So
Mhm.
yeah, in certain contexts, Sweetie can be considered a bad person because drugs. But at the same time, he doesn't want to be a bad person like Vecna because Vecna is
I
a
don't think
different
drugs
type
make you a
of bad.
bad person. Vote Joe Jordan's 2020.
Uh, sorry, but no, like during that fight, and then Vecna also possessed Roku, and like was just like
Mhm.
like you said, he was just possessing him, like making him do things that were inherently wrong. I don't really want
Not
Sweetie to
technically
also.
true. In fact, he said save someone's life.
Well,
However, possession is not cool.
But if like
well, yeah.
Vecna wants them alive, there's got to be a
Mhm.
shady ass reason behind it.
It's a
I think
follower of
that I think
Vecna.
that's Sweetie's point.
I think that was the only reason. If he has a
And-
Do
chance
not
to save a
presume to
follower.
know the reason for anything Vecna does, because if anybody is going to be cryptic about why, it's going to be that motherfucker.
And like I
Anyway.
just don't want with like all the past of people yelling at Sweetie about Vecna reasons, whether it's the hand, the eye, just talking with Vecna. People have always been like, "Oh, Sweetie's not that good of a person because he's talking to an evil god." I've heard multiple people say that multiple times, and it's just I don't really want that to be I don't want Sweetie to become like an evil character just for who he talks to, and I don't want Vecna to have an influence on Sweetie to make him worse off than he has already been.
I think it would be very. I'm again not trying to influence anything. This is me as a fan of you guys playing the game. Like when I get a watch, I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I'm watching a
Mhm.
TV show. So I would really love if Sweetie were to drop Vecna, he is now doing it because he knows that he is a good person on his own accord. Whereas he picked up Vecna in the first place as assurance
To
that he
prove
is a good
himself.
person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He wanted to be, Vecna may be shady, but he's just misunderstood. He wants to prevent this guy. He
Mhm.
wants to prevent it from happening. He doesn't want our plane to be invaded. But now, if you do break up with Vecna, you're like, well, guess what? I don't need you to be a whole person. It's like almost
That-
like getting out of an abusive
It's-
relationship.
That is kind of the
Zuko.
path.
You're going
Ex-
from I need my father to prove my honor to I make my own honor. You are literally the best character arc in TV.
I like, and that's kind of been the point of
Mhm.
attempting to drop him because I want to better myself morally than just be powerful because strength is not everything.
Wow. So you and Roku, you guys,
Tom goes,
no, straight up, you guys mirror each other very well on opposite ends of like either the good or the evil spectrum, where you guys
Exactly.
don't want to prove yourself to some deity. You guys want to prove yourself to yourself. But the only
Mhm.
difference is,
how you're doing that.
how you're doing it, whether it be morally or like with strength. And I'm
Physically.
not saying that you have to sacrifice sort of that moral for strength. That's not what I mean. But I mean as if you guys are doing it on opposite ends, and I really enjoy that sort of mirror about you. Does anyone have any more questions towards Avery? Because I think we covered.
I just want to comment. I asked partially because I know that there have been a lot of hostilities amongst party members because of the Vecna-related decisions, and I wanted to assure that I don't want you to like be in the situation where you feel like you're doing this just so our characters fight less. Not that like I necessarily thought that's why you were doing it, but I felt like that might have been a possibility. Because I feel like specifically because like you could get debuffed. I don't want Avery to have to debuff his character so that other characters get along better, because that would kind of suck. But if you have legitimate character motivation, as you just explained that you do, in that case, I'm all for it. I just wanted to make sure you weren't about to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, that like I said, that is a huge reason that I'm like, I don't really want to do it, but also I feel like it is a necessary thing to do.
You are mirroring your character. You are deciding that you would rather go it on your own than to reap the mechanical benefits of 3 extra levels into Warlock. Much like Sweetie is doing. You would rather go it alone, but having less power, and that is life imitates art perfectly.
And I'd like to even draw like the parallel between Cloud and Sweetie. Cloud was offered the chance at a resurrection, and Avery turned it down. And so I think props to Avery for being willing to make the ballsy choices, because
In the name of character, that's
I don't think I could do it. Like giving up those 3 levels in Warlock, I
Avery
wouldn't
is
do
the
it.
perfect good example of, but that's what my character would do. It's
Not
always
in the
a
bad way.
positive. Yeah, not in the bad way. It's the good example.
That expression, I think, in the D&D community has
Has a
the
bad
connotation
taste.
of that's
Exactly.
what that's what dicks say. But yeah, it's it makes me appreciate. It makes Nick appreciate Sweetie, and it makes Nathaniel appreciate Avery a lot. That you're having that inner conflict of giving this up in the name of doing what, like, from the perspective of like the grand scheme of things. Basically, you're just doing this because it's the right thing to do, and that's really cool.
Well, after Sweetie does this, because Homer wasn't really awake too much, he was focused on driving when that conversation happened. He will trust Sweetie more after he grabs his Vecna.
I think that's a general consensus.
Yeah,
Again,
and that's
because I know like you're leaning
Again,
towards you
struggling
probably
with
will, but it hasn't happened yet.
exactly. If something crazy happens and I do stick with it, like that's still an option.
Okay, I have 2 questions that I accidentally skipped over, and I would like to do it just real quick right before we go. Okay, cool. Nikolai, what do you think Rick has going on? Why is he sending these 5 assassins after you? What's the end of this road? What is this all leading up to?
I don't know. Funny you bring this up, and I know you said like to be quick, but this opens up a whole can of worms.
Okay.
As things traditionally do, because I like to spout off. But Nikolai and Rick, Nikolai, he's always sort of looked up to Rick, because he taught him how to fight. He taught him what he does, but Rick also sort of has that same thing as Roku, where he's like, do whatever it takes to be strong. Whether it's physical strength, strength of will, that sort of thing. That's what Nick's training was about. It was about building himself up to be the best he can be, because he has this grand destiny or whatever. That Rick always told him, like, you have so much potential, you just need to learn to unlock it. And because of that, Nick understands why, from that perspective, he would send these assassins after him. However, Nikolai also doesn't share that sentiment as much as he used to. When he was training under Rick, he lived under this man. He lived with this man. He was taught by this man. Every day of his life was get up, train with Rick, go to sleep if Rick lets me. So because of that, it sort of ingrained that into his mind. But how we're being out in the world and seeing some really terrible things from people in positions of power. Everything that Sebni did, everything that happened as a result of the Raven Queen, who is a god, his perspective on Vecna, and most recently Sid. These people who are strong, they have this strength that Nick was taught to believe means so much, are terrible people. So he's sort of developing this. It's almost like what Gronk is going through, like a crisis of faith, but it's like for his father figure rather than his god, where he's thinking, maybe this isn't all what it's cracked up to be. And now he's having to take the life of these people. He had to kill 2 assassins, and now 3. 3 assassins have died because Nikolai has to fight them because Nick sent them after him, or Rick sent them after him. And he's not super down for all that. He's questioning sort of whether all of this, though it is it is in line with Rick's teachings, is it morally right to fight and kill these people just to prove that I'm better than them? So that, yeah. It doesn't sit well with him, but at the same time, Rick doesn't really leave him with any options because these people will take the life of both him and his friends if he doesn't defend himself.
Yeah, abundantly clear as these guys actually, these most recent set of assassins have actively tried to kill you guys even when given the chance not to. So you have to protect, sometimes you left with no choice. And then also, I forgot to ask Gronk, and I was going to ask, but he cut out early. Celestian, he hasn't specifically talked to you yet in a campaign where so many of your other friends are being directly contacted by their gods. How do you feel about that? Are you jealous or are you relieved that he's not asking anything from you?
So
Naivete. It can be nice.
Jacob Ludiking and Gronk kind of have different perspectives on this. But Gronk feels like, okay, kind of like, this is good that he hasn't sought me out, because that means he's not about to ask me to be his holy ambassador and enforce his will, and he's going to enter the fray in this war. So that's a point in his favor. But that also calls into question, he hasn't spoken to Gronk at all. And Gronk's wondering, well, maybe I'm not, because I'm not super, Gronk is not the luckiest half-orc alive, and he's certainly not the smartest, and he's certainly not the strongest. So there's also that underlying fear after listening to Roku spout all this strength nonsense. Well, what if Celestian does have a chosen victor, and I'm not it because I'm just not strong enough? And so then he feels like, well, maybe I gotta contact him. I have to find out if he's one of the bad guys, I guess is the term to put. And Jacob Ludeking feels like he kind of wants to do that, but he also doesn't like bandwagon hoppers, and that's kind of what it feels like.
All right. Next up, I guess, on our agenda, does anyone have any questions for me? This is not a requirement. I was just wondering if I could clear anything up.
Think about asking you anything.
I did
Why
think
have
about something after Jacob said was talking about Gronk. And can we
Yeah,
make
I was
Gronk
gonna
a
ask.
part of his character?
All right, what'd you say?
It's like being unlucky part of Gronk's character.
I thought of something when he described himself as the most unlucky half-orc alive. I like how you took the lucky feat, but if anything, from a story standpoint, it shows to prove how not lucky you are, because you get to roll twice and still fail. So where traditionally characters with the lucky feat are described as the Han Solos that go through life and some things just work out in their favor, and that's mechanically represented by them getting to roll 2 dice. But with you, it's I get to roll 2 dice and still fail. And it's not that your character is built poorly or anything. You literally just, you are our will we. It's that bad.
Gronk and Hogan mirrors. One's talkative, one's not, one's lucky, the other isn't.
Yeah. As far as the Celestian thing goes, and Garrick doesn't have to say anything, but like, is Garrick diggity down to do a Celestian and Gronk thing, or are you gonna try and stay off of that because you're already juggling not only Cord but also Vecna, and I don't even know what, and like we had the Queen of Worms, so I don't even know if like the demons, if that's gonna like Enoch, like you just got all that stuff to juggle. Are you willing to put that extra thing on your plate?
If you don't think that I already have things like fleshed out, then I apparently have not done well enough. No,
I sort of assumed Garrick already had a Celestian page in his notes.
I figured, but I just wanted to make sure.
it's it's like, it's not an out of game thing. It's is Gronk willing to like get desperate enough to seek it out, or is he just gonna wait for it to happen, or is he gonna not do it at all? It's really up to Gronk, and
That's the ultimatum he's having,
and you just described why you would probably not even want to do that.
But also why you might, yes.
Exactly. So all right, is that all for questioning? Is that one?
Okay,
I feel weird asking the DM questions.
I will answer all I can. I love talking about my campaign, right, guys? You know, when you ask me about my campaign,
thing is,
and then I go, never mind, can't tell you that.
Yeah, I like as much as I want to know stuff, I also don't want to just like ask it.
Exactly.
Because I like just coming across stuff. Being surprised in D&D is one of the best parts of D&D.
I just
and there's nothing that I'm really like. There's nothing that I'm super like in the dark about as far as like, other than specific plot related stuff. Like the things that I am wondering now are which gods are and aren't evil, and who is lying, and what's going on in Sid's palace. But none of those are things I can
that's
just
true.
ask you.
I cannot answer those questions, unfortunately.
So the questions that I have are not valid to ask.
Okay. Abe, do you have questions?
I have two.
Okay.
One, like, so you're always like, oh, I would have never guessed this character would have done that. Like how Roku like sold himself into slavery. So, like, I can't really ask like what type of things would you think are like would you not predict from us, but like just going about like the whole like, oh, we do this thing and you're not prepared for it, like how difficult is that, like as a DM, I guess?
It's, if I make a choice in the game, I am prepared for both choices to happen, but there's always one where I'm like, oh, they're gonna do this. But when you don't go that route, I'm like, okay, well, we can crack open this other storyline, but I was not expecting it. And that one's usually the more fun option, honestly. So I guess I see you guys as that. It's whatever one is like the wacky, weird one you guys kind of go down, and I'm like, well, guess we're going here now.
I don't know if this is like sort of what you were talking about, but from my experience running games, specifically within Star Wars, things seem to go, A, they're more fun, and B, they seem to, for whatever reason, run smoother, which makes no sense. But when I'm improvising as a DM, things are going better for me. Mm-hmm. When I lay out plans, it feels like less productive.
Yeah, I just like am so, in short, I'm so up my own ass, but I am so knowledgeable about my world and the characters I put into it that I know everything that they would do, everything that happens with them, and how they were. So like, if you guys decide to right now, Roku teleport you all to Titran, I have shit ready. Like I know what they would do and these guys would do, and I know what would happen.
You're right about one thing. That made you sound really up your own ass.
Exactly. I'm just really invested in my own creation. So I am one egotistical god. Do you have a second question for me?
I did, but I was just trying to remember it and I completely forgot.
Right. Well, he's thinking, I'd like to play off that question. What other unexpected, like really unexpected things have we kind of shocked you?
Basically, Skotua in general. you guys deciding to go back and be like, let's colonize and like let's make it a thing. I thought you guys would be like, fucking burn it, leave it behind, never talk to it again. But instead,
Yeah,
you spent the
That's what
first.
campaign one us would have done.
Yeah, exactly. I was so accustomed to you guys killing a leader of a place and going, that's your guys' problem, then dipping. And you guys really sat this one out, settled it, went through the politics, really went into the like grime of, okay, these people, their relationship with these people. And I just had to, after the first session where I saw that happening, I then, proceeded to prepare for that sort of stuff to happen more. And yeah.
As a general note, Skotua and all of the stuff that happened has been some of my favorite stuff. So I'm glad that
I
that
look
sort of
upon
stuff is
it
happening.
much like you do music from past generations. I remember all the good stuff, and the bad stuff I'm just going to leave behind there because I never want to think about it again. Because Skotua was also a slog. It was a lot of talking and a lot of politics. And even for someone who likes politics, such as myself, I could see the lack of motivation because you're like, but also that you guys kind of got yourselves into that because you were like, let's wait 2 days before we have the fight. And it was a whole thing. But anyways, I followed you guys. I followed your thing. So everything that happened for a reason. I'm glad that it did happen. But I'm also glad we're out of it and expanding upon the world because I really like you guys going places, experiencing new shit.
I
Stuff
like
like that.
driving a chandelier on 70.
Good shit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, but what cut in, but I remembered my question.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see in movies and stuff like that, they go from the main character, like the good guys, and like they play out that, and then there'll be like some random scenes in the movie that just kind of show like plot points that the enemy is doing. Have you ever considered that implementing into a D&D type game where you just be like, okay, take a break from our characters and then you just like explain like a simple little scene like Sid is doing. Have you ever thought about doing that?
It's a fun idea for sure. I definitely like it. But from I don't know, you guys wouldn't have a reason to know any of that stuff. But if it was like a sort of a day-to-day thing, I think that would be, if it was relevant, if it was more relevant to your guys' characters, I think I would do it. But you guys don't really care about the day-to-day goings of Sid. You really just care about where he's at on the day you guys show up.
I think like that, and this is like a more broad conversation about Dungeons and Dragons as a game, but that sort of thing would lend itself to a very well, I might add, to a different kind of game than the one we play. That would be because like our conflict in our party, basically everything that we care about is about our characters. That sort of scene I think would play really well in a campaign that's more plot heavy and would be used less as a tell the story about the players and more tell a story about the characters and be used more tell a story point to indulge the players. And we don't really like have that sort of dynamic because again we're less plot heavy, more character heavy.
That being said, though, I do constantly, like, I literally have, like, when you guys travel, I have what your opponents are up to as well. Like, every day you do something else, they're doing this thing. So, like, I have those scenes, but they're only for me, I guess. So
Yeah.
that kind of question.
Or I
If-
guess a better, sorry, Joe, go.
If I can put my 2 cents on that is, I don't really care for that because part of the thing that's sort of hard to do, and this is what we all appreciate about new players having never looked at the monster manual. Sometimes I wish I'd never seen that because then I'm not like, well, I recognize this monster and it drags that down. If I know what the enemy is doing, but my character doesn't, I have to like take steps to avoid saying or thinking, because what Gerald knows versus what Gronk knows is very different things. So I appreciate not knowing those things because it makes it easier to role play as Gronk, because he also
It's
doesn't.
the reason I don't like fighting trolls as a player because I know hit him with fire, but do I know that?
Yeah, so I do like the concept, and of course, if a one shot ever rolls around and I'm like make some like regular shady criminal characters, and then like, haha, you're actually working for Sid. You know how I do that, like sort of one shots are always a different part of the world and it expands on something.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I do that, but maybe not fully indulging him on a day-to-day basis. But I do like that idea.
I guess like a better way to put it would be like, would you have that all like prepared? I guess like if I were to like if one of us picked up the spell like scrying. And then, like,
yes. That my point is when I mentioned earlier that I have his day-to-day stuff. Like if you were to scry on the first day of your journey as opposed to the 5th, there would be different things he would be doing.
Yeah.
And you would, if you were to watch him, you would know those things.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So basically, feel free if you have scry, but I'm pretty sure it has a hefty material component that goes along with it. So, that being said, is everyone? I think this was a very first successful episode of, and I am very much looking forward to the next one. Is everyone happy? Everyone content? Everyone understand each other just a bit more?
Yeah.
It was very helpful.
I
going
think
through
so.
this.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking, and because I love talking about shit, and I love talking about D&D. So I will leave you with a lightning round of final questioning. Now this one is very intensive, so I need you to think very hard. Who would win in a fight, Vecna or your dad? Avery, go.
Wait, my dad?
Yes, your dad. My dad could beat up your dad. Could your dad beat up Vecna? Hypothetically, go.
Like,
What do
we
you mean,
talking
my dad? Are you
Chris,
talking
or
about
are we
real
talking-
life dad? or Sweetie's dad?
Hurry. 5.
Wait, Sweetie's dad or real
real
dad?
life dad. Could
No,
your
he'd
dad
fucking
beat up
lose.
Vecna? All right. And Jared, what do you think?
Yes.
Nathaniel?
My perception of my father would lose. Garrett's perception of my father would win.
That is the correct answer. Could George beat him, Gerald?
Fuck no.
And Tom?
He'd pull up with the blicky. You know how it is.
I am 100% certain that my vision of Jared and Nathaniel's fathers could beat up Vecna. I'm positive. Anyways, that was the first episode of this thing we're doing, and I enjoyed very much, and I hope you at home enjoyed watching our contestants talk about their characters. Everyone have a good night, and praise our Lord and Savior Vecna.
It's the morning.